It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledge it, knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
You heard the man, ladies and gentlemen, setting sail on the freshly swabbed deck of the SS Rapapa. It's Topic Thunder. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. If you're new to the show, I'm Brooks, and that's Ben. I don't know which direction. Yeah, you're above me in this particular configuration that I've got it set up. But this particular configuration for me allows me to view the world's most dangerous chat room. We call it the Thunderdome, part of Topic Thunder, the star of the show, dare I say, ladies and gentlemen. That's you right there.
This show would be like 85% less entertaining without the Thunderdome.
I mean, let's just be honest, Ben. You and I are kind of we're the drag on the show, right?
And I mean, I'm an asshole, and you're you. But the dangerous chat room.
Tell me I'm a fucking prick without telling me I'm a fucking prick.
we could smell our own, you know what I mean?
Truth be told, it's the truth. Then it's the truth. So again, folks, welcome to Wednesday Thunder. We had promised you a very special show last week, and I'm here to tell you that true to form, we're going to disappoint you. We have a scheduling issue with our guest. We have rebooked our guest for next Wednesday. So all due apologies, seriously, because Ben and I have been very excited for this show, for this moment. And it was a last minute boo-boo on the part of a now no longer employed staff member.
Exactly. Yeah, yes. We were very much like Trump. We immediately fired that motherfucker. As soon as we figured out that he fucked up, no apologies, no I'm sorries, just get your shit and get out.
It's the box and cardboard box and two very large security men.
Usually I'm in a mood where I can be like, give a guy a second chance, but I've had a shitty last couple of days, and I was in no mood. So I was on board with the get rid of that motherfucker.
Yeah, see, we've already pissed off at least the 2/3 of the world's most dangerous chat room. Don't
worry about it, though, because we're going to have Dr. Chrissy on next week. We're still going to do everything that we plan to do. And who knows, surely there'll be another crazy story that will fit perfectly into our talking points, if you will, between now and next week. Because it's America, and every week something happens that you could talk about mental health.
It's a daily episodic show, right? Every day you can tune in and see something that will test the boundaries of your sanity.
So the only thing you can do, Brooks, to just level things out a little bit.
Tell me. Striking a chord, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, a beer, actually. So we're going to go back to the beer that for some reason no longer agrees with my system, but I continue to force into my system. This is a Gigi pick, and it is a very local brewery. They're called Funky Town. It is a super cool can. This is the very cool, I think that's their IPA. It's their Belgian Pale Ale. That is a very cool can.
Somebody who's very artistically inclined,
right? And this is the something shoe weather. But I'm missing out the name. It's born. So it's just a beer, right? No, actually, it's a fantastic story because Jim Shoeweather. Thanks, Gigi. Jim Shoeweather, right? Because it's a Belgian ale. It's lighter. But when you dive deeper into the story of this brewery, you find out a story of like three dudes that like basically built a beer brewery incubator, right?
Okay, kind of like a social media incubator.
It's or a tech incubator or anything along those lines, right? And they're called the Pilot Project. And it's literally three dudes that like beer that set up this space for independent brewers. They started with 5 brands, right? 4 brews, and then I think one was a hard kombucha. There's a fantastic story that Ben showed the Instagram for Funky Town Brewery. There's a fantastic story in Forbes about them, and I thought I would just read the section that dealt specifically with our friends at Funky Town. Funky Town Brewery is one of Pilot Project's most recent success stories. Rich Bloomfield became friends with Zach Day and Greg Williams at school in Oak Park, and then the three of them attended Grambling State University together. So that in and of itself is kind of a thing, because Grambling State, like, come on, who goes there, right? On purpose. 2017, they began brewing at home with the goal of starting their own brewery. We wanted to bring the black brewer perspective to the beer industry, which is less than 1% black owned. Yes, Funky Town Brewery is a black owned brewery. So the three friends began working at Pilot Project in mid 2021 to then launch Funky Town Brewery in October of that same year. We felt that we had an amazing tasting product, a great marketing strategy, and a solid business acumen to handle the challenges that would come, but we didn't have the means to produce beer at a scale. Pilot Project filled in all the remaining gaps. Within 6 months, Funky Town had grown to more than 200 partners across the greater Chicagoland area. Pilot Project is like a brewery in a box. You bring your vision, product, and marketing strategy and grit. Then you open up the Pilot Project box. They have sales teams. They have a distribution network. They have a PR team, business consultants, marketing consultants, brewery equipment, and knowledgeable employees serving you beer on tap. They have a tasting room.
That's great. What a great idea, right?
To
create an incubator for brewery like that. It seems like a no-brainer.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Shoe Weather. This is a GG buy and a GG like, and she's not particularly fond of beer. She has some favorites, but she certainly enjoyed this one, and then said, you have to do this on the show. Being a smart man, or semi-smart man, I listen, and I think I got a little beer on my screen here, but here's cheers to you, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get to a what I think should be a very interesting show.
Yes, but we need Brooks bolts first. Don't skip us on the Brooks.
No.
We're always waiting for the Brooks bolts.
This is a solid three Brooks bolts. It's a very nice beer. It's a very clean finish. There's a little bit of an aftertaste, but it's very light. It has a lot of flavor up front. Again, it's a Belgian ale, so you have that kind of Weiss beer thing going on there, but well, I don't know. We're going to find out what's going on with those big, juicy Brooks brains, as you call it, because I know there's been some devastating news in the news lately in the past 24 hours. We're going to sidestep that story because I think it seems like every week we talk about something like terrible gun related, and to be honest with you, we had plans. Not that we had anything to do with the Highland Park shooting, but we were like, this would be a fantastic opportunity to talk to our in-house psychologist about mental health in general, knowing what we currently know about the shooter or the murderer. But maybe, like Ben was saying, in a week, America never seems to disappoint. All you have to do is tune in. There'll be some more about the situation. But again, join us next week, next Wednesday. Thunder Wednesdays.
Topic Thunder goes mental.
That's gonna be it. The focus of the show should basically be all about mental health. So this show, we're going to open with a leading character we haven't talked about a whole lot lately, and that's COVID-19.
I am very familiar. COVID-19.
COVID-19, Ben, was the leading cause of death in America for people aged 45 to 54 in 2021. It's actually 1 in 8 deaths in America between March of 2020 and October of 2021. So what, a year and 6 months, some change there, 8 months.
Mm.
The 1 in 8, the leading cause of death in just that short period. COVID-19 was the third leading cause of death in America between March of that same date, and accounting for 1 in every 8 deaths in that time frame. COVID-19. Let's rephrase the number 3 cause of death, period, and the number 1 cause of death between the ages of 45 and 54. Right? Take that, all you people that are just the flu.
Yeah, and still people are out there with it's just the flu. I mean, just there's no getting through to those people, man.
In the 2020 period, COVID-19 was the second leading cause of death in people age 85 and over, but amid high vaccine uptake in this age group, it fell to the third leading cause of death in that same time period. So even vaccinations didn't help the elderly in this one. Talk about a culling of human beings. But that's not we're not even getting started here on this one, folks, because the more and more and more we learn about the current variants, and now we haven't talked about them currently and a whole lot lately, and it's certainly not the news a whole lot lately, but COVID's not letting up. Our strategy over the last year of basically like, there's enough people vaccinated, let her rip, is paying dividends for
Wrong.
the virus.
Yeah. Peek behind the curtain, break down the fourth wall. We are just now overcoming our third bout of COVID-19 in the Jordan household. The second time that both Adrian and I have had it. It was not fun, but it was not as bad as the first time. I didn't get my booster shot when I was supposed to, so that probably didn't help the situation. And I bring this up because when I told you through text that I tested positive for COVID, your response was something to the effect, and I'm paraphrasing a bit without opening up my phone and saying it directly, but your thing was, we all have gotten kind of apathetic. I don't know if that was the right word, apathetic or not, but kind of
the sense, yeah.
Got
lazy about this.
We've all, and you kind of said myself included, have just kind of relaxed on this thing. And I think in a way, the people that didn't take it seriously, they won for all intents and purposes. They beat down the other side. That's really how I feel about this thing. The people that didn't want to get the vaccine, that didn't take it seriously, they won. Because we now just have to accept it. It is now going to probably be a part of our yearly lives that you will get COVID maybe once, maybe twice a year. Some people are lucky enough not to get it at all. And I work with people that are completely unvaccinated and travel often on airplanes. I'm talking 2-3 times a week on airplanes and haven't gotten COVID. That's just
as far
luck.
as they know.
Exactly. That's just luck. They just haven't gotten sick. They may have had it, but they may have been asymptomatic. But there is an apathy and a relaxation that we've all had about this thing, and there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. The governments aren't going to go back to mandating masks, doing any sort of that thing. That has been resoundingly beaten down by the people that don't want to do it, and they've won. They've won the battle of COVID.
I found a very interesting article that kind of backs up some of the dangers of this lax in our defense, self and public. And I don't think we've covered a story from this particular website. The THETYEE.ca. They're from Canada, eh? Yeah. So while the Omicron, should I read this in a Canadian accent? No, we need to take this seriously, right? Because this is serious stuff on a very serious show. While Omicron subvariants find new ways to evade vaccines and destabilize the immune system, another pandemic has overwhelmed officials who are supposed to be in charge of public health. Let's call it a plague of willful incompetence or an outbreak of epidemiological stupidity. In any case, COVID, a novel virus, can wreak havoc with any organ in the body, and it continues to evolve at a furious pace. In response, officials have largely abandoned any coherent response, including masking, testing, tracing, and even basic data collection.
Mhm.
Yes, the people have been abandoned. So please don't expect, quote, normal, end quote, to return to your hospital, your airport, your nation, your community, or your life anytime soon. Although many public health officials still dismiss COVID infections as inevitable and even beneficial, a growing body of science shows this fashionable dogma is dangerously wrong-headed, if not outright form of malpractice. Reinfections. And 2022 surely is the year of reinfections, just increase the damage from COVID.
Oh, good. Awesome.
Sorry, Ben. Which actually, the story goes on, which can be profound. Immune system deregulation, blood clots, nerve cell death, inflammation, lung damage, kidney failure, and brain damage. I think we've covered all of these symptoms, and we've talked about long COVID for a long time. New science shows Omicron and its variants are getting better at evading immune defenses induced by vaccines or by natural infection. Think about that. BA5, for example, is more transmissible than any previous variant. As a consequence, it is now possible to be reinfected with one of Omicron's variants every 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, fantastic.
The study goes on to show a whole bunch of studies about reinfection, kind of gets into a whole bunch of other possibilities, such as, is COVID paving the way for other diseases? Because it clearly attacks, and we've talked about this before, the T cells in the human body, which are a ginormous part of your immune cell, and it destabilizes those immune systems. Did they take AIDS and HIV seriously? Because they made it strictly a homosexual thing, right? And this was the Asian flu, right? Like you can't trust any kind of human reaction, especially any kind of public human reaction to these things, because the hive mind just doesn't get this kind of shit, right? And it dare I say, maybe that makes us here in the Thunderdome and elsewhere like just a little more in tune with what's really going on, because I think most of us will acknowledge that this is really fucked up. This is really fucked up, and this is the long. We talk about the long game at a lot of theaters on this show. We're gonna get to that in a little bit too. But the long game of this virus is that it survives and it thrives. The next link I sent you, Ben, is a really, really interesting picture of SARS-CoV-2. So the center there, WA1, that's it. That's what the human transmission, right? Everything forward and a little bit back, you can see the MU variation, the beta variation. These are the variants that sprung from the one COVID virus that transmitted to human beings. And you can see just how long and far the Omicron branch has gone. So it has become the dominant strain. All the other strains really have basically ceased to exist. So we're now dealing with, when they say positive in the story, they said like even some positive effects. One of the positives is that at least now we know the general structure of the one strain that's basically attacking everybody, right? So in that sense, they can kind of tailor and customize vaccines.
Long enough that they've been able to study it long enough that they have a better understanding, right? Because that's what happens in science.
Well, yeah. And again, it's a slow crawl to the conclusion because new evidence is always being presented. But the virus is mutating in such a way that its shape is changing. Some of its parts change, and the immune system doesn't know how to attach or attack those parts. And vaccines are, depending on what vaccine, if you had the mRNA vaccine, that was training your immune system to attack a very specific, let's just call it shape of a virus, right? If you had the traditional vaccine, then you were introducing a weakened portion of that virus to you, so it knew again exactly what shape. There are two different routes to get to the same place, right?
Right. Makes sense.
So it just, again, there, if there's hope in it, that it would be that we kind of are sure that it's the Omicron branch of the genealogy of the virus that we have to deal with. So it does help with therapeutics and future vaccines. Just there is some hope on the horizon, but man, personal responsibility. I know you said we can't go back to shutdowns and masking everywhere and everything, but
is it maybe the best course of action? Probably. But dude, you and I both know that is never going to fly again. No fucking chance.
We had our chance.
Yeah. Keep in mind, 30 of the 50 state legislatures in this country, 30 of them are Republican controlled.
Yeah, it's not happening.
They're never going, not a single one of those state legislatures is going to introduce any sort of masking, any sort of COVID related mandate again. Never again. Won't happen.
Yeah. Aunt Chris, she had it. And think about this. CPS wasn't doing any kind of. Okay, let's just say I know people that work for a major healthcare organization who you would think would have some sort of mandatory, at least weekly testing. CPS. I was like, what? You guys get tested? Huh? I mean, this person that works for this major healthcare provider said, wait. So your gets tested weekly? What? Insane. So the idea that we did it right, or that all those sacrifices were kind of in vain at this point. We didn't do enough. We didn't do it long enough.
It is now, looking back, thinking about it. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I was in the hospital overnight for that shit in my throat, and I remember thinking, everyone that works in that hospital still wears a mask for the most part.
Oh yeah,
there's a reason for that. I don't know if it's mandated, but in Lubbock, Texas, I would imagine maybe not, because the kind of the people that run the show are very conservative leaning folks down here as well. But you notice that the overwhelming majority of employees that work there, that work at the hospital, are wearing masks when they're interacting with anybody.
Think
they're still taking it serious.
Think more of a corporate mandate, and that the masking gives the appearance some sort of safety, like, oh, they're taking it seriously. Well, we're not providing sick time or any kind of testing for anybody who is sick. We don't. It's a don't ask, don't tell kind of policy, because you can't miss work because, well, we staff as minimally as possible on purpose because profits are more important. Think along those lines.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's another side of the story that you don't think about, the dark side of it.
I mean, I've had to wear one every day. I work 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week for the last 2.5 years. And to be honest with you, it's not ever going to go away. And to be honest, to double honest with you, it probably shouldn't.
Probably should. Right? Like you guys deal with it on a frontline basis. You guys are ground zero for when people are sick, very sick. They're coming to where you work. So yeah, it's probably important that, for a variety of reasons, not just COVID, but all different kinds of reasons. For all different reasons of what people are bringing in there, you guys should probably all be wearing masks.
All the right reasons.
And I think that's why it was a mistake But again, these state legislatures are never going to do it. But it was a mistake for the federal mandate for masks on public transportation. I think that's a giant mistake. I think
Huge.
you always have to wear a mask on an airplane, in an airport, on a public bus or train. Like, it just makes sense moving forward as a society to just, for general health purposes, we should be mandating that people are wearing masks in very public places where large groups of people from different places are intermingling with each other on a short-term basis in an enclosed space.
Yes.
Just seems to make so much sense.
Senior member of the Thunderdome, Ryan Hansen, asks what I think is a really good question. How often did hospital employees wear masks before COVID? Basically, during any kind of surgical or sterile procedure. And let's just call like a sub-sterile procedure too. Outside of that, you were kind of the weirdo. Actually, not to call some of these people the weirdo, but when it came to the flu vaccine and people would file a religious exemption, they would be forced to wear a mask for the 3 months of the flu season, almost like a penance. Oh yeah, you don't want to get the flu shot? Well, wear a mask.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a little bit kind of like that scarlet letter sort of deal. So not a whole lot, to be honest with you, Mr. Hansen. It wasn't very prevalent. You didn't see ICU nurses walking in and out of rooms. That one patient might be, a chemo patient, and the other patient might have, I don't know, encephalitis and whatever. No, they weren't masked walking between those rooms. Like, it just didn't. Think about this. When you saw all those pictures of like Japanese people riding their subway and they're all wearing masks, or like people in China doing the same thing, or they're walking around in public squares like wearing masks, weren't you like, man, that's fucking weird? Girl, I live in a country that doesn't make people wear masks. That's fucking stupid. America. We felt weird about that when you saw those pictures, right? It was like, that's a weird thing, wearing masks, covering your face. Why? That's weird. So there is some Western cultural thing about this.
To that point, I saw a graphic the other day. The population of Florida and the population of Taiwan are almost identical, within like a 500,000 people, right? The state of Florida had 75,000 deaths from COVID, while Taiwan had 6,000. That speaks to the cultural difference, and like Joe was talking about in the comment that I put up on the screen, it's a different culture. They have already their culture has already seen that it's better for everyone to mask the fuck up in public, because then you don't get as sick.
Well, as Gigi said, it's a sign of respect, because outside of your N95 mask, if you just have on your typical blue, like, surgical mask, even though it's not a surgical mask, it's a procedure mask, that only protects the people around you from your shit. That doesn't protect you. The N95, what they call, or a respirator mask, is what filters your in breath and out breath. Those regular masks that we kind of see everywhere only I think they're 70% effective at blocking what comes out of your mouth, period.
Which is better than 0%.
Last time I checked, right? Like, so in that regard, yeah. Oh, well, it's only 70%, Ben. That's these, but you don't see that it's actually 70%. It's a ginormous increase from 0. But those are the same people that are like, slaving away at a job that really provides no anything. That's a different discussion, Ben. That's a different show. Wow. Don't get me started on some of the people that we don't like on this show. Yikes. Speaking of people we don't like and outright revolts, you want to see what happens when a prime minister is about to get the boot? Because that's what's going on over in the UK right now. Party boy Boris Johnson battles to stay as PM amid revolt. Yikes. This is the guy that had a vote of no confidence just a few weeks ago, and I believe survived that by one vote. And this week, according to the AP, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson battled to remain in office Wednesday, brushing off calls for his resignation among 3 cabinet ministers and a slew of junior officials that said they can no longer serve under his scandal-plagued leadership. Remember, it just came out that Boris Johnson not only knew about but attended a lot of parties while everybody was on a hardcore lockdown in London. They were legitimately throwing bourgeoisie type parties. That was just part of the deal. Don't get we could talk about Brexit all day. Johnson rejected demands that he step down during a stormy session of the House of Commons amid a furor of his handling of sexual misconduct allegations against the senior official. Later in the day, a delegation of some of his most trusted allies in the cabinet paid a visit to the Prime Minister at 10 Downing and to urge him to go, but he remained unmoved, British Press Association reported. The Prime Minister turned down suggestions he seek a dignified exit and opted to fight for his political career, citing, quote, hugely important issues facing the country, end quote. It quoted a source close to Johnson saying he told colleagues it would be chaos if he quit. I'm going to skip stories right here because I want to give a little background to Mr. Johnson. He was once the mayor of London, rather flamboyant one. Everybody, again, the party boy moniker wasn't one started here. That's for sure.
He looks like such a fucking tool bag.
And he messes up his hair for photos on purpose.
What is that? What is that?
It's the anti-Trump, right?
Yes, you're right. Like it's like the opposite. Like I am so not vain that I will purposely mess up my hair.
I'm so right. So check this out. Wow, imagine this. Imagine me mentioning Trump. Because imagine Boris Johnson meeting with Russian oligarchs without the presence of any sort of aid or anybody to record what was said. Well, you don't have to imagine it because it happened. This is from the BBC. Boris Johnson told MPs he met Russian oligarch and ex-KGB officer Alexander Lebedev without officials present. As a duty here at the offices and studios of Topic Thunder to remind everybody that there is no such thing as an ex-KGB officer.
Right.
None. Especially ones that somehow turned their political spying career into somehow one that you become a billionaire oligarch.
Look at this guy too, by the way. Look at that fucking.
Oh, Ben, it gets better if you like that picture. Quote, I have certainly met him without officials, Boris Johnson said. I met him on very few occasions. And when asked if he met the Russian billionaire and former Evening Standard owner while foreign secretary in Italy in 2018, he said he had. Mr. Johnson said Mr. Lebedev's son, Evgeny, has now become a member of the House of Lords. Controversy surrounds that appointment since the Sunday Times alleged that the peerage was granted despite a warning from security services that it posed a national security risk. The Soviet KGB was the main Cold War rival of Western security services, and Vladimir Putin was a KGB officer too. Many of Mr. Putin's closest aides were KGB comrades. Mr. Johnson was answering questions about Labor Day Dame Diana Johnson and Commons liaison committee. I probably messed all that up, but I don't understand their political situation. It's Lords of Commons, it's the House of Commons and House of Lords, and they argue and they literally can yell at each other from like they're seated facing each other. It's great.
Yeah, dude, I wish ours was more like that. I gotta be honest. Like they really have nailed perfectly like what government should be. It should be a spectacle like this. By the way, they have it. I looked it up on YouTube. They have it's an hour and 50 minutes, and I have it pulled up here, and we can dip in for a second just to hear crazy fucking.
Oh yeah, he went off.
Check this. Was it Boris? Do we want to find Boris's part?
That would be great because
Here we go.
Question. Hundreds of them, thousands of them, some of whom, Mr. Speaker, are the very people who've received fines, are good, hard-working people, motivated by the highest calling to do the very best for our country.
They're just
And
heckling
I
him.
will always be proud
Trump
of
hair.
including procuring essential life-saving PPE, creating the biggest testing program in Europe, and helping to enable the development and distribution of the vaccine which got this country through the worst pandemic of a century. And now, Mr. Speaker, we must get our country through the aftershocks of COVID with every ounce of ingenuity and compassion and hard work. So I hope that today, as well as learning the lessons from Sue Gray's report,
It's kind of crazy because the president here doesn't go to Congress and petition personally in front of them for his agenda, right?
But shouldn't he? Right?
Absolutely.
Hey?
I'm all for this type of theater because it does eventually get good where they'll start yelling at each other.
Yeah, you can hear they're heckling him and shit.
Mm-hmm.
The people are facing, fulfilling our pledges to generate a high wage, high skill, high employment
Look at that scepter.
will unite and level up across the
You know that it's also, I learned this from John Oliver, but it's against the law to show clips for comedic purposes of Parliament meetings in England. So, like,
Really?
when he does segments where he criticizes Parliament and makes fun of them, they have to edit those segments out of the show that plays in the UK because you literally cannot make fun of that on television. You could play the clips as like a news story and treat it seriously. But you cannot make fun of it. It's against the law to make fun of it.
Wow, that's very interesting. Okay, good to know. Which it might also be good to know what it looked like when this oligarch was in his, I guess, heyday. Because Topic Thunder poll, how much Just for Men did this guy use? The same guy that Ben showed you, that really cocky picture, that ex-KGB oligarch.
Just for reminders, we're talking about this weirdo.
If you scroll down, Ben, you'll see a picture of two men.
Oh, wow. That's the same guy?
Same dude.
It looks like he's wearing a disguise.
Yeah, right? That does not. Come on, man. Like, what do you.
Come on. That is a man wearing an obvious disguise. And, like, look, he's even got, like, you can see that he's wearing, like, tanner because around his eyes, or he tan in the bed with the fucking thing on his face.
So
what is that?
Let's try to look at this if you were trying to analyze this relationship, right? The man, if you're looking at him, Boris Johnson on the left, is disheveled, is slumped over, and is clear eyes, in my opinion, clearly inebriated, and also telling us physically that he is subservient.
Yes, he's clearly inebriated. Yes, that's
The other man with the well dyed beard is showing signs of, I own this bitch. This is a piece of meat sitting next to me that I now have all kinds of compromat on, and will do our bidding as we seek to separate the UK from the European Union. We'll call it catchy Brexit. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference between a handler and somebody who's being handled in that picture. Just for the record, what happens when you get involved in these seedy Russian deals? You think everything's peachy until a certain point, right? Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take you right to the Moscow Times, because the fourth Gazprom-linked executive now reported dead in Russia.
oh
A Russian businessman with ties to the state-owned energy giant Gazprom has died outside of St. Petersburg in the latest in a series of mysterious deaths to grip the country's gas industry in 2022.
I feel like now, you know how we have Aerosmith for the weekly ELE. I think we also now have to come up with a song to play for our weekly. It seems odd Russian suicides and deaths that happen. We need so I'm putting it out there today. Anyone that can come up with a good song for us to play.
Scorpions Gorky Park would just be my first off the top of my head choice, but I would also go for any rendition of Nikolai Volkov singing the Russian national anthem. So Yuri Voronov, 61, head of Astra shipping transportation firm that worked on Gazprom's Arctic projects, has died, according to the company's website. His body was reportedly found Monday afternoon with a gunshot wound to the head in the pool of an elite cottage in the affluent St. Petersburg suburb of Morsky Tetseria, in the city's 47.ru news website reported Tuesday. Very interesting that 3 out of the 4, I believe, of these Gazprom officials have been murdered and found dead in pools. Again, messages are being sent, right? There's no doubt. Like we made fun of the window jumpers that stabbed themselves 17 times on the way down and also managed to choke themselves and shoot themselves before hitting the ground.
It's amazing how often that happens.
The agility, we're talking about Olympic athletes plus.
The dedication to killing yourself. To not only stab yourself 17 times, but just to make extra fucking sure you throw yourself off a fucking building.
You know, I wouldn't want to live after that either. So you got, you got to have backup plans. I always have at least 3 months rent in the savings account. Make sure you jump out the window when committing suicide.
And shoot yourself and jump out the window.
Make sure. Just do it. Everybody else is. Apparently, if you're Russian too. So, we just want to make sure that Boris Johnson and maybe some other people associated with a former American president might want to pay attention how certain one country that you thought were your friend, you thought were your ally, you thought you had a lot of common, that made you probably pretty rich, how they go about tying up loose ends. Let's just say that, right? Can we just say that? Just be like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, don't go on vacation and then don't go near a pool. But on the heels of that, considering that Boris Johnson is probably on his way out and is probably Russian backed, and again, he who pushed for Brexit, which, let's long game. One of Vladimir Putin's main goals was to weaken the European Union and NATO itself. So why not try to control the presidency or the highest political office of the UK and the US? They're trying to do both. Imagine that. Well, imagine the heads of MI5 and the FBI standing on a dais together, warning of an immense threat from China. The heads of the UK and US security services have made an unprecedented joint appearance to warn of a threat from China. FBI Director Christopher Wray said China was, quote, the biggest long-term threat to our economic and national security, and that it had interfered in politics, including recent elections. MI5 head Ken McCollum said his service had more than doubled its work against Chinese activity in the last 3 years and would be doubling it again. MI5 is now running 7 times as many investigations related to the activities of the Chinese Communist Party compared to 2018. The FBI's Wray warned that if China was to forcibly take Taiwan, it would, quote, represent one of the most horrific business disruptions the world has ever seen. Is it
bigger than the one we're currently going through?
We might be going somewhere on this quote. So let's just hold on to that idea that it would be the most horrific business disruptions the world has ever seen. The story goes on. The first ever joint appearance by the two directors came at MI5 headquarters in Thames House, London. McCollum also said the challenge posed by the Chinese Communist Party was game-changing, while Ray called it immense and breathtaking. Again, we're talking about threats to our national security, and they use the word breathtaking.
Great. And game-changing.
These are men of very measured steps. Just let you know. They don't choose words out of the blue, and they're not riffing up on stage. Breathtaking was chosen very carefully. Immense and game-changing very carefully. Ray warned to the audience, including chief executives of businesses and senior figures from universities, that the Chinese government was, quote, set on stealing your technology, end quote, using a range of tools. He said it, quote, pose an even more serious threat to Western businesses than even many sophisticated business people realized. He cited cases in which people linked to Chinese companies out in rural America have been digging up genetically modified seeds, which would have cost them billions in dollars and nearly a decade to develop themselves. He also said China deployed a cyber espionage threat to cheat and steal on a massive scale with a hacking program larger than that of every major country combined.
And that includes Russia, who we have detailed in great detail on this show, which has been way ahead of the game and has some of the most sophisticated hackers on the planet themselves.
Well, you know, Ben, this is former governor of Minnesota, Jesse the Body Ventura. And I'm down in Mexico, and I'm here to tell you all about the Russians.
Right. Thank you, Jesse. The MI5. I'm doing James Adomian's impression of Jesse the Body Ventura. And I guess one of the funniest things I've heard lately is that he threatened to...
I was going to give him a clothesline and put him in the camel clutch.
Go just search any comedy bang bang with James Adomian and doing a Jesse the Body and prepare to laugh your ass off. Back to China. McCollum pointed out a series of examples linked to China. These included British aviation expert who had recently received an approach online and had been offered an attractive employment opportunity. He traveled to China twice to be wined and dined before being asked for technical information on a military aircraft by a company which was actually a front for Chinese intelligence officers. That's when MI5 stepped in. So they're into this, right? They're telling us in no uncertain terms that China is going to become this major player in this situation. And they actually say at the end, China has for too long been counting on being everybody's second highest priority. They're not flying under the radar anymore. While the damage may be too late, I want to point out something very interesting reaction that was recently reported in Bloomberg. Remember, we pointed out in this last article that it would be the largest interruption to business and supply chain ever. And Ben, you astutely pointed out, well, even from Russia. This is yesterday, July 5th, Bloomberg. American factories are making stuff again as CEOs take production out of China. The pandemic forced companies to rethink their supply chains. This is just economics, says one executive who made the move. There's been a sense in financial circles that the fever among American executives to shorten supply lines and bring production back home would prove short-lived. As soon as the pandemic started to fade, so too with the fad, the thinking went. And yet, 2 years in, not only is the trend still alive, it appears to be rapidly accelerating. Rattled by the most recent wave of strict COVID lockdowns in China, which we actually covered here as there was an imaging contrast shortage because of the shutdown in Shanghai, a longtime manufacturing hub of choice for multinationals, CEOs have been highlighting plans to relocate production, using the buzzwords onshoring, reshoring, or nearshoring. which is basically saying, yeah, the deal went south and it's not profitable anymore, or we're gonna our money and profits are gonna be interrupted by Chinese government for some reason. Onshoring, reshoring.
Right. It's so insulting because, they took these jobs away to increase profits because they could do it cheaper in China. And now to be so, what's the right word? I don't know what the right word I'm looking for, but they're being just so dishonest, for lack of a better term, about why they're bringing these jobs back. They're going to play it off like we're bringing jobs back to this country. We'll buy GM because we have brought our factories back to this country, or buy whatever because we're American made again. And it's like, you motherfuckers never had to fucking take those jobs away. And because previous generations just allowed you to take those jobs and take them overseas because they didn't stand up for their jobs or they didn't unionize, and they allowed their jobs to just be taken overseas and didn't put their fucking owner's head on a pike in front of the fucking factory and say, try taking our fucking jobs, motherfuckers. That's what that honestly, in a different age, that's what would have happened. But these American men, these generations of men from previous that want to think of themselves as manly men and how manly they are, and how there's a generation of men that still exist that were brought up by those types of men, how in reality they weren't man's men. They stood by and watched their jobs get taken overseas and watched their money get taken out of their pocket and food off of their table taken, and they did nothing. They did nothing to stop it. In fact, they went, this is just the way it is. This is capitalism. Well, this is what it's supposed to be.
Before you said they did that, I was going to say they did one other thing. They complained.
Yeah, they bitched and moaned.
They
blamed it on the government.
They blamed it on the president, right? So so all these jobs start coming back in the next, like, say, I don't know, 2 years. Does Joe Biden get the credit for bringing all these manufacturing jobs back to America?
Hell no.
No, which is, again, really doesn't have much to do with him, unless you want to count him sending out the FBI director to warn everybody that China is really about to let's put it like this: the pandemic combined with the Russian war in Ukraine has shown China just how much it could fuck with the world. And at the world, it is at bended knee to it, if so deemed. If China said, you know what, no more microchips, we'd all be fucked. From medical equipment to cars to cell phones to just the simplest things these days that require a microchip.
They've got us by the balls.
Everything, steel, everything, clothes, anything Amazon sells these days.
Remember,
anything.
They also own all our debt.
All of our debt. So Russia can come calling in a multitude of ways. So this is a ginormous moment in geopolitics, right? You have the FBI director and MI5 director coming out and basically saying, like, look, this is going to be a problem sooner than later. And they're basically acknowledging that, well, we really weren't paying attention. So that's a conversation for a different day. Why weren't you paying attention? Why was this allowed to just like sneak up? It's not like you didn't know. It's
right. You knew they were buying up all of the treasury bonds. You knew that's what they were doing. You knew that China has been buying large swaths of farmland in the Midwest. You knew this was all happening, and it was fairly public knowledge. And you just were like, well, they're never going to do anything about it. They're our friends. We do business with them. They're our business partner. They're not our business partner. They're our fucking owner. They're our owner.
And hilarious about you mentioned Mitch McConnell, Ryan, because if you look at who Mitch McConnell's married to, and her family ties, you quickly start putting together things like, oh, why did the Kentucky teachers pension fund all of a sudden move to like Russian and Chinese bonds, which then also sank and absolutely tonaled their pensions? Because Mitch McConnell's married to the Chinese, which, you know, doing favors for the Russians is what the Chinese do. Because China's getting none of the attention. Vladimir Putin stepping front and center with his shaky hands and bloated face, taking all of that attention away. Come get me, Vlad. It's probably time to start really focusing on China.
Yeah, I think so.
Unless the world ends. And by the world, I mean the universe. And by the universe, I mean all of the universes. And by all of the universes, I mean reality itself. Ladies and gentlemen, the Large Hadron Collider has begun again. After shutting down for 3 years for repairs and upgrades, it started up some new experiments, and in the first friggin' day, finds evidence of 3 never-before-seen particles.
Oh,
Brooks, where is this going? When you were playing the Ellie, Ben's playing the Ellie music. This is patience. You will learn patience. Physicists say they found evidence in the data of Europe's Large Hadron Collider for 3 never-before-seen combinations of quarks, just as the world's largest particle smasher is beginning a new round of high-energy experiments. The 3 exotic types of particles, which include 2 4-quark combinations known as tetraquarks, and a 5-quark unit known as the pentaquark, are totally consistent with the standard model, the decades-old theory that describes the structure of atoms. In contrast, scientists hope the LHC's current run will turn up evidence of physics that goes beyond the standard model to explain the nature of the mysterious phenomenon known as dark matter. Such evidence could point to a new array of subatomic particles or even extra dimensions in our universe.
What?
Just to give you an idea about how big the Large Hadron Collider is, it's a 17-mile round superconducting magnet that can accelerate particles almost up to the speed of light, and then smash them together, and they see what happens. And that's basically the world's most expensive, most dangerous, and definitely subatomic crash-up derby.
Unreal. Yeah, let's just see what happens.
Well, let's see what happens, right? Well, a lot of people have a theory about what just happened, Ben. Those people believe that the experiment that just happened at the Large Hadron Collider has transferred us into a parallel dimension.
Yes! Sweet.
This is from our good friends at iflscience.com.
Love those guys. It's been a while since we've had an IFL Science.
You gotta sprinkle it in. You can't put salt on everything, I guess. On Tuesday, the world's largest particle accelerator was turned on once again. After 3 years of upgrades and maintenance, it immediately observed 3 exotic particles for the first time. The LHC is now up and running and breaking records for the highest energy particle collisions ever performed. And it's all pretty exciting, with the teams involved searching for more information on the so-called God particle, the Higgs boson, and signs of dark matter. But of course, some conspiracy theorists out there have concerns that the collider will open a gateway to hell and or a parallel dimension in which there is no return. And I ask you, is this not hell already?
Right.
CERN has always been the subject of various conspiracy theories, from the creation of black holes to human sacrifices on the grounds. It appears this year's conspiracy theorists have been watching a little too much Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, as the rumors this year have all centered around opening a portal to a different dimension. Quote, who has felt like a big shift is coming for a while now? One verified astrologer wrote on Twitter. Now on July 5, we are quite literally going to be switching timelines when CERN is going to turn on their machine thingy. It's opening a portal to go through. Also, the unknown is coming in. Keep your positive vibes and energy up. Another Twitter quote. I've looked into this, added another. For 10 times more Mandela effects, because back in 2012, they did a record voltage level that caused the Mandela effects. Whatever portal they're opening, they shouldn't. Being generous, you could guess that the alternate dimension theories are based on the idea that the LHC, in theory, could detect evidence of extra dimensions. Quote, how could we test for extra dimensions? One option would be to find evidence of particles that could exist only if extra dimensions are real, CERN explains on their website. Theories that suggest extra dimensions predict that in the same way as atoms have low energy ground state and excited high energy states, there would be heavier versions of standard particles in other dimensions. These heavier versions of particles, called the Kaluza-Klein states, would have exactly the same properties as standard particles, but with greater mass. So they actually have an idea of what they'd be looking for in a different dimension or a parallel state or hell.
You know, much like Aunt Chris, I would love to see like other dimension Ben, because he's probably like super positive, also very conservative. Like it's like the opposite of me. It's like Bizarro Superman would be like. I imagine I would love to meet like ultra conservative shithead Ben.
Where you would never wear a hat,
Never wear a hat, clean shaven,
button up all the time, khakis.
Uh-huh.
I'd peg you as an opera guy.
I would hate sport. Yeah, exactly. I'd be like Niles from the show Frasier.
There's nothing wrong with the opera or musicals. It's fine entertainment.
It's just the opposite of what current Ben enjoys.
Correct. Yes. The
furthest. Love country music. I would be a huge country music fan. I would not smoke weed. Like,
you straight edge.
Straight.
And we know, yeah, absolutely. X for X-rays, ladies and gentlemen.
Straight edge, cowboy, clean shaven, opera loving Ben Jordan.
Yeah, that's the guy I want to hang out with. I'm not gonna lie.
I fucking hate him already.
Definitely not. Yeah, see. Okay, so we all can admit that these experiments at the Large Hadron Collider are very dangerous, and we shouldn't be messing with extra dimensions and all that other kind of stuff. Or we could just be, observing the things that exist in our universe. And here's the trippy part, Ben. Right, the further we look like down into things, we start to realize, shit, there's more. Wait, well, we didn't know atoms existed, right? So we're like, oh shit, the atom, cool. Wait, there's parts inside the atom. There's the proton, the electron, and the neutron. Oh shit, there's parts inside the atom. Wait, there's parts inside the protons and the neutrons and the electrons. Oh shit, there's parts inside the protons and neutrons and the electrons. It gets smaller and smaller, right? But on the same scale, when we look up and we look out, things just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So there's almost like no end to the spectrum. It's very trippy. I don't suggest doing mushrooms and considering these things.
Yeah.
However, Ben, and I know let's just reinforce. We have a very special show next week, next Wednesday. We have Dr. Christie is going to be here. We are going to be talking about all things inner space.
Yes, Topic Thunder goes mental.
Topic Thunder is going mental. But folks, actually years ago, we mentioned this on a show that we don't do anymore. We don't do anymore.
In a past life. Where we were just bullshitting.
And actually just months ago, we covered a story about a piece of technology that was deployed into space called the James Webb Space Telescope. And most recently, we talked about how it was, sent up, and it had to reach a certain point in our almost far solar system where the gravity between Earth and the sun were balanced, so this thing didn't need any kind of propulsion. It would just sit there and stay there. It's taken almost 6 full months for this piece of technology to unfurl itself, to calibrate itself, and to start taking pictures. We are about 6 days away from the unveiling of what will probably be some of the coolest pictures we've ever seen and put our eyes on regarding space and the universe itself, as the James Webb Telescope completes its commissioning and will release its first operational images on July 12th. Join us to talk about this and probably a lot more inner space, but we're definitely going to mention this next week as they show us so what's the big deal about this, Brooke? What are we talking about here? This is the most advanced telescope man has ever created. The only thing that comes close was the Hubble, and we've looked at pictures from the Hubble, and we've all gone, holy fuck.
Right, we had those pictures not too long ago, right? Remember we had those pictures of space that were like fucking super crystal clear and trippy, and
that was the Horsehead Nebula, and that was like an at-home astronomer with an Earth-based store-bought telescope, and then the Hubble telescope, right? This thing isn't even in our orbit. The Hubble telescope is in Earth orbit, so it is subjected to the light of the planet. Kind of like how, like, if you want to see the night sky, you want to get out of the city, you want to get out of the light, the din of the city, you got to get out, right? That's where the James Webb telescope is, and it's the Hubble on steroids plus, right? It's on that special Disney Marvel Chris Helmsworth diet. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Right? It's all chicken and broccoli, folks. It's all chicken and broccoli.
of course.
I am geeked about this, and I don't know how many other people are really geeked about these things, but to know what this telescope can do, it can detect gases on planets. It's not just visible pictures. We're talking infrared. We're talking we're talking every spectrum of recordable reality that we know of has been, an instrument is packed on this thing. We're going to be able to tell, does that planet have a nitrogen-based, oxygen-based atmosphere? Is it a rocky planet? What's it made of? What kind of signatures are being given off? This thing is going to change everything we know about space, and I couldn't be more happy. I couldn't be more excited about it, and I'm nerding out right now, and I'm not apologizing. But that's not it. I got a couple more things I want to talk to you guys about before we hang up, like it's a phone call. Ben.
Yes, bro.
There's a lot of cool things technology brings us. Maybe not one better. The forthcoming KFC finger spork. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard me right. The finger spork. KFC will be introducing an innovative new utensil called the finger spork, one of the most popular fast food chains across the globe. KFC remains continuous experimentation to offer something unique to their patrons, be it a company of biryani, KFC fried chicken, or making a plant-based fried chicken for the vegans. We have seen the brand do it all. Adding to the list, KFC recently introduced a special utensil in the American market, and it's dubbed it finger licking experience, the finger spork. Behold.
It almost seems like something out of the fucking old Weird Al Yankovic movie UHF.
Sure, or like the Eat It video or something like that.
Something weird. Like this it's almost like the Onion came up with this.
I guess a question to everybody: what would you use the finger spork? That would be weird.
By the way, the Thunderdome's head, their minds are definitely in the gutter because everyone's fucking thought process went to the same thing.
The finger spork is that extra move that you have to pay a little more at the end, right? Is that little ooh?
I don't know that I'm using a finger spork. I'm not even really a sport guy.
I'm not a sport guy either. I'm a KFC guy, and I'll be damned. It's been a long time since I had a KFC bowl.
Yeah, I haven't had KFC in fuck.
I used
Mashed potatoes are good, man.
man, I would do two. I would sit down into 2 KFC bowls and pass out in a near diabetic coma right afterwards.
It's like boots for your fingers.
time to get sporked.
Oh my god!
All right, so let's talk about some chickens, huh, Ben? You want to talk about chickens? Let's talk about chickens because we can talk about chickens, or we can talk about cocks.
Whoa!
Hello, but as we are wont to do every once in a while on the show, we got a video to show you, and this one, a Jacksonville man was arrested after police say he killed his neighbor's pet rooster.
When Nick says the rooster followed him and attacked.
Hold on.
Oh yeah, because you gotta have the
gotta have the visual.
You gotta have the visual of the story about a dead cock.
This seems like it was meant for the lightning round, but no, that just tell you how great the lightning round.
But one day when Nick says the rooster followed him and attacked him.
His neck flares up and he's doing his thing and he's trying to jump up at me.
He was trying to get the animal away.
And I try to hit it, but the chicken's jumping up at me and I accidentally knocked it in the head. Call it a lucky shot, whatever.
But when Dave Felice came home, all he saw was his rooster dead in a ditch.
I said, I'm calling JSO. I called JSO. JSO didn't do nothing. And then a couple of days later, I realized I could call animal control.
And in late June, James Nix went to jail for animal cruelty.
Next thing you know, he calls the chicken police on me.
While the neighbors continue the fight, Nick says he never should have been arrested.
Chickens are dying every day, people, at churches, Popeyes, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Really?
But one day when Nick said the rooster followed him and attacked him.
His neck flares up and he's doing.
How do you argue with that logic? Chickens are dying every day.
And I tried to hit it, but the chicken's jumping up at me and I accidentally knocked it in the head. Call it a lucky shot, whatever.
Oh, it's so great.
Oh, that's good stuff, right? All right. We've got a couple more videos that we want to show you. Ben, I think you wanted to
yes, I've got one that I definitely want to share with people. Okay, so we obviously just had the 4th of July. That was Monday. That it was part of the reason why we didn't have a show on Monday. And for me, 4th of July has always been a weird one because I never got fireworks. I don't get it. I don't get the fascination with them. I don't get why people find them spectacular. I don't get gathering in a large group of people and staring up at the sky at these explosions and wonderment. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I've never gotten it. I don't understand it. I don't like it. It seems stupid to me. And every year, without fail, there are multiple stories of people blowing their fingers off, all kinds of horrific stories because people don't know how to handle explosives properly. And then I stumbled across this video. And this video is this is what I imagine would happen or should happen to anyone who decides they want to have a giant firework display with their family. Let's check this out. This is incredible. Oh, you're joking now. You won't be joking in a second. Oh, it's not over.
Who did that? You gotta put it in the shoe.
Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Has anything greater ever happened to someone? That is so great.
and
You and your fireworks.
and to echo that sentiment, Ben, I wanted to show you this video and show it to everybody because to again echo your sentiment. Fuck your fireworks. Check out this because drones are way cooler.
All right, let's check this out. Hold on. Let me get this set up. And oh, whoa. That's at least somebody put some effort and
Those
creativity.
are drones, man.
That's pretty dope. That takes some.
Don't tell me that's not cooler than some fireworks. Look at that.
That is
Come on.
cool.
The goddamn Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission to seek out new life and new civilizations.
That's pretty cool.
Right. And to boldly go where only the Thunderdome has gone before. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Lightning Round! The number one segment on the number one podcast, still not listened to by my father.
Son of a bitch!
We're going to get on the couch and talk to a therapist about that probably next week. But not to delay anybody from what you came here for. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. Let me explain what you're in for here with the Lightning Round. 3 stories enter the Thunderdome. 1 gets read, and that story is chosen by you, the people. To quote Bait, that is the Thunderdome. Ladies and gentlemen, if you check it out, if you're just joining us, you throw up the thunderbolts. When we mention the Lightning Round, in the world's most dangerous chat zone, we call it the Thunderdome, ladies and gentlemen, without any more dilly-dally. Headline number 1. Oh, the headline went away. Cookville man seriously injured after severing his penis before leading officers on a pursuit.
No.
I guess that was it.
Headline number 2. Watch. Crab steals a knife from a camper in a nighttime raid.
I guess that was it.
And headline number 3. Washington State troopers pull over driver who crammed his SUV into the back of a U-Haul.
What? Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, while you're tabulating your votes, and we do appreciate you participating in the democracy that is the Lightning Round, I'm going to
Dangerocracy as
Dangerocracy. I like it. I like it a lot. That's a hashtag. That's a t-shirt and a mug. Congratulations. You're going to get 42%, CJ.
Ooh, Ryan Hansen's quick with the headlines today.
Crab
Missing
jacking.
Nice acting.
I like crab jacking a lot. So, ladies and gentlemen, while you're considering all of those possibilities, let's read those headlines just one more time. Headline number 1. Cookville man seriously injured after severing his penis before leading officers on a pursuit. Headline number 2. Watch. Crab steals knife from a camper in a nighttime raid. And headline number 3. Washington State troopers pull over a driver who crammed his SUV into the back of a U-Haul.
We already have 2 votes for number 1. Ryan Hansen and Biz in with votes for number
Penis
1.
man. Of course, that's where Jesus
Courtney's going with Stabby Crustacean, number 2.
We see we're getting a vote for 1. We got a vote for 2.
I don't know if Ann Chris is going with crab, if this is a vote for it or not, or just a comment.
I think
But
I'm going to count that as a vote until I get corrected. We're kind of in a tie here.
I may get to break the tie. I haven't got a chance to break a tie in a while.
Not a while. So anybody else listening right now? Yes, yeah. Okay. So number 2. So
I haven't seen Ma Jordan. She might have been thrown off by the fact that we're on Wednesday.
yeah, we should.
We should probably post, like, I'm going to remind people throughout the week, this next week, that we are going to Wednesday. I know, Ryan, you were a little late to the party this week. Original plans where we had an interview that was scheduled for today. Some scheduling conflicts at the last minute. Some confusion caused that to be canceled. So here we are doing a regular show. Next week, we're also going to do Wednesday because our guest is most available on Wednesdays, not Mondays. After next week, we will revert back to our regularly scheduled Monday at 7 p.m. scheduled times.
Maybe.
Although the last time we switched days, we really liked it, and we decided we're just going to fucking do it all the time. So we went from Sundays to Mondays. Maybe now we go to Wednesdays. Oh, Adrian breaks the tie.
We have Major. All right, so we do have a tiebreaker. And I'm thinking Wednesdays for the show because Monday.
Ma Jordan is here.
Whoa! Say it again. Let's read those headlines just one more time, folks. I know you want to hear it. You know I want to read it. So here is headline number 1. Cookville man seriously injured after severing his penis, but before leading officers on a pursuit. Headline number 2. Crab steals knife from a camper in a nighttime raid. And headline number 3. Washington state troopers pull over a driver who crammed his SUV into the back of a U-Haul. There is your
That's not going to win, but that the visual of someone driving their SUV into the back of a U-Haul.
It's everything you think.
Yeah, who thinks of that? A, how do you do that? B, like, how do you get it out? Like, there are so many questions there. Although the man severing his own penis is never going to beat that story out.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. But as we anxiously await Ma Jordan's tally, because she could either tie it or push us over the edge.
I think age. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, number 1, that seals the deal.
Sealing the deal.
Let's find out about the guy that cuts his dick off and then goes on
this whole show has been about cock, so why not? Ladies and gentlemen, headline number 1 is your winner. Let me quickly send this over to Ben because I know how much you guys love all the back end show stuff that we love to do, and staring at my face sometimes isn't everybody's favorite thing. August 26, 2021. Law enforcement officers encountered a bizarre incident Wednesday morning as a Cookville man led them on a 2-county pursuit on Highway 70. What they learned was that man, a 39-year-old Tyson Gilbert, had severed his own penis, tossed it out the car window somewhere along the route, either before or during the chase. Gilbert said he heard voices on his car radio telling him to commit the act in order to save the world. Trooper Bobby Johnson of the Tennessee Highway Patrol was the first to come across Gilbert after spotting his Honda Accord parked partially in the roadway along Highway 70. Quote, when I pulled up behind him and turned on my lights, he took off and refused to stop. He was all over the road the whole time. That's because he was bleeding profusely from the car.
Yeah, because his fucking dick was bleeding.
He turned off on Old Liberty Road and came to a stop. He opened his door. He was naked and covered in blood. He then shut his door and kept driving. Think about what just happened. Sped off, took a little exit, stopped, got out, showed everybody what was going on, got back in, and kept driving. The Alexandria Police Department spiked him, put down spikes on the road on Highway 70 as he was going through Alexandria. He kept traveling westbound into Wilson County. The THP spiked him in Watertown, but he continued westbound. We finally were able to box him in and got him stopped on Highway 70 right before Interstate I-40 took him into custody. He was then transported to Vanderbilt Hospital.
Yeah. I can't believe he didn't bleed to death.
The first spikes got one of his front tires, and the second one got the other. After that, it became a slow-speed pursuit with him running on his rims until we boxed him in. Gilbert had active warrants against him for other offenses in Cookville. You might be surprised by that.
I'm not. And it does, and I am in concurrence. You know, looking week, mental health week here on Topic Thunder as we go mental. It is. I mean, obviously, this guy had mental health issues.
Yes.
And yes, it's funny because he cut his dick off, and that's funny. But you guys are right. Like there's kind of like this is also kind of sad. And there is a piece of me that's like, oh man, it kind of sucks to laugh at this dude, but he did cut his dick off and run from the police.
I mean, to be honest with you, sometimes we don't read the entire story here. We just we catch the headlines too, and
it's part of what we do here, man. Like we dive into things, and then we kind of sometimes realize, oh wait a minute, there's another side of this that you don't normally think of.
if we could fire somebody else, we would. But at this point, since we fired the person who botched the appointment today, folks, it's a tough market out there to hire folks, and it's kind of now down to a staff of two.
Anybody that wants to get bossed around by the two of us.
It's a staff of two. Not to make another penis joke, but
a staff too.
The show has been about cocks, penises, and stabs. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Topic Thunder. All right. That is another episode of the show, and we, of course, as always, a heartfelt appreciation for everybody who participated and sang along with our nonsense here. And as always, we hope you enjoyed the show, but also learned something and can take some of that stuff forward to other conversations you have in other portions of your life. So, as always, again, check us out next week, Wednesday. Dr. Chrissy will be in the house. We're going mental here on Topic Thunder, so please, and it's going to be a serious conversation. Hopefully, it will handle it lightheartedly, but we intend to dive into some pretty heavy stuff. Not going to lie, just to let everybody know. I know we're excited about it, and we'll see how they go. We don't have a good track record with guests.
We don't, so we'll see.
USS Rapapa. This is